Daily Solutions podcast recording.
Solutions podcast recording. Solving your problems, we're solving your problems.
Solving your problems,
Thanks for
we're solving your
listening.
problems. Thanks for listening.
Okay, welcome everyone.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashkahn.
And this is Graham. And today's question is, how do you clean the interior of the floating device, the pod, tank, or room itself, not the water? And what's the best way to keep the mold out without contaminating the water? So wiping down the interiors of your
Cleaning
float
the
tank.
wall, cleaning the inside walls and ceiling.
Cleaning the wall, we're cleaning the wall.
So, this is important. Cleaning
It's very, very important.
Yeah, good.
Because, and I guess just to start with why it's important. And you have this float tank water that's really salty that you're treating and sanitizing. And then you have everything above that water, which is in a moist, humid environment that is not really being
warm.
treated. Yeah, it's ideal growth for...
Like an incubator, just one giant incubator.
So keeping that free of bacteria and anything that might grow there ends up mold might be growing there too. Anything that would grow there ends up being important.
Yeah, most commonly, if I've ever seen it happen in a place, like it usually is in some sort of seam of the float tank.
Mm-hmm.
So those are definitely the important spots, and almost beyond the kind of cleaning stuff that we're going to talk about, making sure that those seams are properly sealed with caulking and stuff like that. Like you really don't want kind of crevices in the inside of your float tank, and not just for mold and stuff, but a ton of salt will just start building up in those areas too.
Yeah, pretty much anything that isn't just a flat, curved surface that slopes down gently towards the water where nothing can gather is sort of a compromise. And you have to have that in a lot of float tanks. I mean, there just has to be certain seams, and most of them have a door, for example, so you can get in, which naturally creates those. But yeah, the more you can caulk inside there when you're setting them up, the more you can kind of make almost a seamless surface out of it. That's going to make your job immediately easier.
Yeah, luckily a lot of float tanks are built with this in mind to kind of minimize stuff like this.
Yeah.
I guess it's worth noting too that we have a task that generates for us once every 6 months in our shop for us to go and check all of the caulking lines in all of our float tanks and kind of the rest of our rooms as well, because over time small holes and stuff like that will just develop. So it's a good thing to, you don't have to do it every day, but it's a good thing to keep an eye on stuff like that in some sort of routine fashion, and more times than not we'll find something and we have to go fix it.
So, as usual, we've started by answering a question that you didn't actually ask.
But you need to, it's the real answers, this is...
We're professionals. No, but right, like so much of cleaning and everything in a float center comes down to preparation beforehand. So these are kind of the things that will make that cleaning the inside of your tank just easier and more worthwhile when you get to it.
Yeah. So how do you clean the inside of the float tank? What you want is...
You're asking and answering the question?
Yeah.
I thought you were just asking me.
I was just repeating their question. And then,
Well, go ahead, yeah.
I don't actually know. What is the... No, okay, so what you want is a hard surface disinfectant. Mm-hmm. And that's a specific phrase. Like I'm choosing my words carefully when I say that, hard surface disinfectant. And it's because those words mean very specific things in the context of cleaning.
Yep, hard.
Yeah.
Means not soft.
Right? Like,
if it's not a
carpeting
linen,
on the inside of your float tank. So when you go buy cleaning products, whatever, Windex bleach, Clorox bleach, like all these brand name cleaning products you see in wherever, the store.
Where do people shop again?
These things are usually like, they've been tested and often certified and usually kind of registered with the EPA for certain things. And when they make claims of like, hey, we can kill this, we can kill that, and that sort of stuff, they're basing those claims off of a certain usage, a way that you're using it. So when they say something's a hard surface disinfectant, they mean that their tests and all the information they're telling you about that product has been tested and is going to hold true if you're using this on a kind of hard, non-porous surface. And the inside of a float tank is a hard, non-porous surface. So yeah, that's good. That's what you're looking for. And luckily, this is like pretty much the main stuff you're familiar with out there. Like most of these cleaners, like I said, Windex, stuff like that, that's what they are. They're hard surface disinfectants. So you can buy those. You can look at the information on them, and you can see what's written on them, and those instructions are going to apply to you. The other nice thing is that there's no salt water to deal with. In terms of all the other stuff we have to talk about when we're talking about treating the actual water in the float tank, and
we don't really know what the salt's affecting,
the salt messing everything up, and the chemistry, and like none of that applies here because this is just good old fashioned cleaning.
Yeah, I was going to say there is salt on the walls, definitely, which is annoying, but it doesn't affect the disinfection.
It means that we can speak about this with some confidence in terms of knowing how
what's
these
actually
work.
happening. Yeah. So that said, you know, choosing something again that's EPA registered as a hard surface disinfectant, and then within that category, things will probably be more or less useful for you personally and your float center, just based on the kill times that they have and what they actually affect in your float tank.
And
so that's the next thing you're looking for in a
too.
cleaner.
This is something that like I didn't know until learning about the deeper world of kind of sanitation, and is really not like apparent to you when you first look into cleaning things. Is that these things that you're using to clean need to sit on a surface for a certain amount of time to do their jobs. If you're doing it like you see in the commercials where they just spray something on, you know, the mom sprays something on like the kitchen counter and like wipes it off.
All the animated germs are terrified. Later, They're running for the hills, you know?
Yeah, that's not what's happening in real life. So if you're just spraying something and wiping it off right away, it doesn't actually do its job. Most of the time, these things need to sit there for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And often the longer you let them sit, the more stuff they're able to kill. And you can look this information up on any of these kind of brand name products, and it'll tell you things like after a minute, it can kill Pseudomonas or disinfect, you know, kill to a certain extent, Pseudomonas and E. coli and maybe a list of other things. And if you leave it on for 5 minutes, it can start to maybe kill like neurovirus or something. And if you can leave it on for 10 minutes, it can start to kill funguses and things like that. So those numbers and the length of time that you're leaving them on there can be important.
And one nice thing about cleaning the inside walls of your tank as opposed to just the surfaces in your room is that you don't need to do it as often, right? You're not hopping in the tank to clean out between every single customer. So whereas you need these kind of hard surface disinfectants that are able to have a really fast kill time just for the changeovers in your rooms, you're allowed a little more leeway. And certainly when dealing with the funguses and things like that, it tends to take longer, which is one of the things you're targeting in your float room. So that's a little convenient. You can actually leave it on the surface in there without worrying about a customer about to burst in and needing to wait for that to dry.
Yeah, so small disclaimer, I don't know of anyone who's been really researching like tank wall ceiling sort of growth and finding the optimal, you know, if you need to do this daily or twice a week or once a week or, you know, something like that. So it's kind of just like hunches and what makes us feel good in terms of frequency. We do it twice a week at our float center.
Yep, and that has seemed to work fine for us. You know, we don't have definitive answers, but we haven't seen any growth, nor have we done really robust lab tests or anything like that. But there doesn't seem to be any issues arising as a result of us hopping in and actually doing a deep clean of the walls twice a week with this hard surface disinfectant.
And so the way we specifically do it is actually the first thing we do is take a bottle that's just half water and half distilled white vinegar. And we'll spray that in a spray bottle along the walls. And that just really helps dissolve the salt, the crystallized salt that builds up on the walls from people splashing and touching the walls and, you know, taking the salt water in their mouth and squirting it out like they're a fountain.
Yeah, the salt graffiti, putting their initials on the wall and salt water, yeah.
So you do a pass with that, and that just really helps get all the salt water off the walls of the float tank.
And I should, just to back up a second too, I really like doing this during our, you know, we do it kind of during deeper clean times. And I like doing it if we're going to be refilling the water in the float tank, the water and salt, cleaning the surfaces of the interior before you refill that water and salt is a good idea, just because it means you can get a little closer to that water line, right? So if the water's kind of dropped a half an inch over time, then wiping everything down before you put in that half an inch of water means you kind of get a little below where the water line is right after you fill it, which is a good timing for it. So, all right, go on. I just wanted to rewind a tiny bit.
So then once we've kind of desaltified everything, then we're actually going in to do this kind of, you know, cleaning or disinfection step. And specifically what we like to use is a like hard surface disinfecting wipe. And that's just because, you know, you're in this little box and it's not really enjoyable to be spraying a bunch of chemicals around you for our employees who have to breathe it in. And to try to reduce as much, you know, mist or whatever of that getting into the tank water at any point. So we'll actually take, you know, these are just the same things that you're imagining. These kind of Lysol wipes or something like that. You can take those and you can just run them along the walls, and that process, the kind of residue on those wipes will stay on the walls and be there for, however long until you wipe them off. And in some cases, you can actually just like leave them on and they'll evaporate off, and that'll kind of give it that nice kill time.
Yep, and before we were using those, we pretty much were making our own hard surface wipe out of a washcloth, because you couldn't go into the tank and just spray these chemicals right inside that confined space. We were kind of like leaning outside the door and spraying it on a rag and then bringing it back in and wiping it down. At some point, we're just like, oh, this is silly. They have a product that literally does this for us. We don't need to be dealing with the sprays at all. So, that said, it worked okay like that. You definitely don't have to use just handy wipes. We've just found it more convenient at Float On.
Better. So you should
superior.
Do it. Yeah, there's no reason you shouldn't do it. So,
and what else? We do that for all our float tanks.
Yeah, and it's a little easier to do in the kind of cabin style than the tank or pot style. You're going to take your pants off, sometimes more, depending on which tank you're getting into.
Yeah, the tiniest tanks, I definitely just had to kind of get totally nude, go in there, and I'll just sit inside the tank and be wiping it down. You don't even really crouch or anything. You're just sort of taking a little salt bath, playing around in there, doing very serious disinfecting work. No, I don't think I have anything else on this side. I do have something else on this side,
all right.
which is I just wanted to reiterate how actually important this is.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people who call with issues with their tank water, something's going wrong, and after kind of making sure that they're changing their filters and figure out what they're using for their regular water disinfection, I ask about cleaning the walls, and it seems like that's actually one of the main things that if everything else with their tank seems in line, they're like, oh, I wipe down the walls once a month, or kind of like, oh, no, I'm disinfecting the tank. I don't need to wipe down the walls, or something like that, right? And Again, we don't have scientific data to back this up, but I think that things are forming on there, and in some cases actually even falling off the walls into the float tank water and making that kind of go south or keep its quality for less long. Again, just to say that tracing back problems from conversations, this does seem to be one of the key ones that can affect your water quality. So
theoretically,
in my personal opinion, take it for what it's worth. Clean your walls.
There's certainly no harm. It's not going to make anything worse to clean your walls. So, there you go.
And, if you want us to stumble our way through your question, you can go to floatanksolutions.com/podcast and send it in.
Talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.